So.
No, I don't. I feel like it's, to me, the timing is different on a lot of aspects, and I also feel like personally, for me, I don't like the trans anything. Before trans anything, I'm a human first before anything. And I'm not trans nothing. That's how I feel first before anything. And it's definitely a change of the times where the women back then, they wanted to take that thing in their life a little bit more serious. Like, you have a lot of young children of today that focus and they just do things so quickly for the attention, for a man, for acceptance, when in reality you haven't accepted yourself. Because when you get all of that done, where does it leave you? Because a lot of these girls, a lot of the young ladies, I'm going to say, get all this stuff and they're still not happy. Happiness comes from within. And I always try to tell the young children, it doesn't matter of the ladies of trans experience, whether whoever, take your time, study your craft. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm a woman, or whatever you may think I am, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get a man. Some people may say, oh, I got some titties, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a woman, I'm fish, I'm cutting this thing, as they say, and you get you a man, and where does that leave you? Nowhere. As I say to the young people, take your time, love you, go to the right resources, because I think it's different now that the resources are more available for us now compared to back then, starting off. And I'm really happy with that. And just, that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
So, Sean.
I just got here.
Okay.
So you didn't get to see the film, but I'm gonna. You did some stuff and said some things that even with a man face like that in the film. Yeah, you were. But I'm curious to know your opinion around. Oftentimes when we talk about trans, the conversation is mostly about trans women, right? And that trans men are oftentimes left out the conversation. And even when you go to balls, you have like two categories for trans men. So I'm wondering, one, around your thought around the same conversation, trans men being not necessarily as included, or do you think so? But the other thing too is that you do public health, right? And so even in the public health narrative, trans individuals, particularly trans men, are not part of that conversation. How are you able to do the work that you do? And congratulations for opening up your own agency.
Yeah, thank you.
And how do you infuse the message that all of our lives matter, including trans men?
Persistence is difficult because just getting people to understand the needs of trans guys. But before I even touch on your question, I wanted to touch on a couple of the things that you guys already spoke about, right? And you're talking about all life matters, right? And then we want to infuse it and say trans lives matter, but then when we're dealing with the ballroom community, trans lives don't necessarily matter, because there are certain segments in the ballroom community that doesn't understand and or respect trans folk. So you can't say that trans lives matter if we're not going to hold ourselves accountable and say that within our own space, we're kind of erasing or ignoring a segment that we claim to nurture, right? And then the other component is we stick to these same gender norms that society does, right? So you're looking at it, and in the one breath, this is my celebratory cigar, so I'm sorry. In the one breath, you're saying, oh, they're moving too fast, and we got this microwave this, and we got this microwave that, but then in the next breath, you're showing them a category sheet and telling them that they look real and they fish, and they should go out there and walk. So you can't have it both ways. Either you want them to slow down and do it the right way, or you want them to be cut and win a trophy for your house. Right? With regards to trans guys, I think there's a disconnect with the ballroom community and trans men, right? And it's like, you guys love us when we take our shirt off and if we're really, really hairy, but the other worms you don't really get. You have this one model of what a trans man should look like. You don't understand the diversity in the trans community, in the trans male community. So you have use for some of us, and then the others that don't fit into that little mold. It's like, right? You overlook it, and it's almost like an erasure of trans men if you can't. And I don't want to call it a fetish, but in some senses it is, because we're like this ideal man, and he's masculine, and he's this, and he's that. But all of us aren't. And it goes back to that whole gender norm thing. That whole society is telling us that men act like this and we play with G.I. Joes, and girls act like this and they play with Barbies. And if you cross that line, then there's something wrong with you. And we perpetuate that too. And we have to recognize that we're perpetuating that stereotype and figure out what we do differently.
I want to ask Junior, Pam, and Twiggy these next set of questions, which is it's the same set of questions, but it's coming from two different generations. So I'm wondering Junior. So I'm wondering, Junior and Hector, for you, particularly coming out of the sort of the pioneering ballroom era, what was the difference? And I know there was some tension when Paris is Burning first came out. For you, what was the difference watching being around when Paris is Burning was created and watching this today? Was there a difference? And was there a difference in even the way that both Seven and Jenny Livingston approached the project?
Okay. Good evening. What I would first like to acknowledge is that the theological. When you look at mainstream society that we all want to blend into, and I've said this in lectures, it's written in books, universities, what I've said. You are interested in what goes in my mouth and my ass, not my heart or my mind. So when you call me a faggot and a homo, you're being sexual. It turns me on. Because I am used to verbal abuse. Most men that call me faggots later on being my lovers, been my date, been my rapist, been my torturer. The reason for my psychosis. So when I did Paris is Burning, I did it as an intellectual, an orator, intelligent, brilliant, still is in 2014. But what I knew from my theological and my mother and father raising me, see, there's one thing you have to add when you decide to be openly gay. See, I'm not a butch queen, I'm not down low, I'm not in the closet, I'm a homo. And being that I'm a homo, I recognize that I go to bed with the same sex men, but I have a gender. I'm cunt. And I don't waver. Right? I don't waver. And I don't care how much you vogue, femme, and throw tits on, you're not cuntier than me. So, when you came into the ballroom, you had behavior, personality, character, and attitude. But there was one word that I make sure everybody who I spoke your names, you had courage. Because I knew what you came from. See, we met in the welfare offices, we met in the precincts, we met in the hospitals, we met at the pantry, we met at the crack house, we met at the dust house, we met in the park, we met in the basement. And we met Patty and the Bluebells and the Wagons at 100 Center Street. The mansion with many doors. And for those of us, see, I wasn't scared of hormones. Hormones were scared of me. I didn't see me wearing a pair of Manolo Blahniks with a size 13 foot. I'm bald-headed hereditary, so I can't wear Evelyn's and Wanda Weaves. I don't want to put my hat on the post at night. I want a man. I want a funky Michael Jordan sneaker, bad, left, old English 800 scrambled eggs, gonna rob you when he wakes up, man. There is no disillusions to me. And see, I'm not interchanging you. You see, I'm from the old school. Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight, the beat-up women. Neither one of us want to be the first to say goodbye. I I cry a river for you. Good morning, heartaches. Yes, this is what this life teaches us. But in reality, you have to have a mentor. Now y'all call on Prodigies and Balenciagas. I love y'all all. But my mentor was James Baldwin when he broke Giovanni's rule. He prepared me for change. See, when you go to the bar, the drunker you get, the better I look. Leave a couple of dollars on the bedpost because they're going to take it anyway and leave you and lock the door and throw the key out the window. And if you call the cops, and their boys still do it. Excuse me, why was he in your house? I wouldn't let him something to do. But officer, he was in my house. He has a mole on his left cheek but he was in your house. You have the right to remain silent. Look at that speech. Anything you say will be held against you, and you already know you have no bail money. Then you have your sisters of, and I'm going to end with this and pass it back. We talk about arts and craft, right? Going to jail and doing these fast stunts. But see, sissies are shady. They sing like yellow canaries, girl. And they get in front of Judge Judy and tell where the PIN number is, where the check cashing card is, where the last Louis Vuitton was hidden, and where Mimi Versailles credit cards are, and you are gagging, and they kick your door in the middle of General Hospital. And they gagging while you watching Luke and Laura, and they come to us wearing handcuffs. And you want to give them a fabulous explanation of why you took identity theft. See, as you said many years, we have been marginalized to be excluded and deprived, socio-economically devalued, not even wanted. You know what amazes me? When Eric Garner was murdered, when that little child was murdered, they're killing black men. When I was walking down Central Park